started to win litigations, and we got the judge to stop the operations of certain power stations, but we started to get. It's hard to get people of Japan to understand that nuclear power stations are dangerous. So, and I was talking about how I could get through to people. Then people said you should make a film. You have to do this by visuals. So I made a film. It's called Nuclear Japan, and it's 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's quite long, but it tells you everything, all of the issues about the Japanese nuclear energy power plant issues, and it covered like 33 issues. And it's a movie that you could just watch that one film and understand all of the nuclear power issues of Japan. And this film, with the support of everyone, it was a big hit. And it got shown all over Japan 1,800 times. It's still being shown, and over 100,000 people have already watched it. And this film was also used in an injunction litigation. And this film was also used as evidence in a courtroom, and a judge said he would watch the film and he would be completely focused. And he said, but he didn't say, I understand, it's right, just as he say, but I could see that he understood. And this movie was a big hit. It's still a hit. And most of these people repeatedly say to me that they understand nuclear power stations, and then that it causes losses, that we have to stop this. But what's the alternative fuel source? We can't run away from that question. We have to tackle that question head on. So then we thought next film we have to make is one about natural resource energy, and Japan and nuclear panels. So it costs so it cost 67 million yen to create the second film, but the sales from it has been already made more than 70 million. So I'm already up on my production cost, but I can't pocket that profit. So I'm using that money from the first film into the next film, and the second film cost a lot of money. I went through Japan like 3 times, all across Japan and all over the world like twice. And it costs a lot of money, but because of the money from the first film, I somehow managed.
And the why I made the second film, I just explained, so that the stop nuclear energy, and the alternative solution is only solution is the nuclear energy, and I want the people in Japan know about it. And you just watched the movie so that you can tell. What I like to highlight is that I like to dispel and I like to destroy all the oppositions and all the speculations, all the rumors. And in Japan, the prevalent view is that the nuclear energy is not reliable and it is very unstable. So I just destroy that opinions. But that each individual the renewable power source is unstable, but they are all connected, that it is much more stable. And there are some camps that destroy that anti-renewable energy power, then that they tried to speak ill of the German, so that they criticize Germany, and the Germany is importing the new renewable energies from the France, and that is outright lie, and it is very prevalent, and that kind of an argument works well among the intelligence, and it is very convincing argument among that the intellectuals and academia. So that I wanted to, destroy it. That is the message of the tonight movie. And the other objective of mine is that politicians and people in the business community, I want them to, get rid of the misunderstanding over the renewable energy, and also that I wanted to encourage them to get involved in the renewable energies. And the people in the political and the business communities hate Chinese, so that I tried to say that China is much advanced in renewable power, and Japan should keep pace with China. Then that would the great motivations to make the politicians and the people in the business community make the actions. And I filmed that 1.5 years, and the capacity. The Chinese renewable energy capacity is increased at 100 times. So that you can see that the speed and energy and the power of the Chinese people. And the people in the business community are focusing on the numbers. Numbers are very compelling, and I wanted to show the numerical or quantitative answers of the renewable energies, and the power generation capacity of the renewable energy was almost double that of the nuclear power plants. And the basic knowledge to watch this movie is that the 1 gigawatt, that is the capacity for the one nuclear power plant. Around the world, 420 or 430 nuclear power plants, and the one nuclear power plant capacity is 1 gigawatt. So that worldwide, the nuclear power capacity reached 490 gigawatt. And putting that wind and the solar, the capacity is 800 gigawatts. So it's close to the nuclear power plants. So they are growing rapidly, substantially, and dramatically. And in Japan, a lot of people are saying that the national wealth will be lost, and if we continue to stop the nuclear power, then we have to import LNG and oil, and that would reach that 3.6 trillion yen. But it is not true. Maybe the loss is the half of the 3.6 trillion. So that there are trying to arouse the sense of the urgency and sense of the concern among the general public, and it is not true. And the fossil fuel import reach 25 trillion yen per year. Well, depending on the inflation, that are close to the 30 trillion yen. And if the Japan dependent on the renewable energy 100%, that would save 30 trillion yen every year. And the Japan's state budget is 100 trillion yen. So that 30 trillion yen is 1/3 of the entire Japan's state budget. In other words, if we didn't do that we are losing the opportunity to save money, because the international community is approaching to the nuclear renewable energy. So that there is the gap between the renewable promoting countries, and then not is the gap is getting bigger. So that I show that by statistics, and energy security needs nuclear power. That is another logic of the anti-renewable energy, but the natural resource is the most stable source. If that we depend on the natural resources 100%, and we are immune to the oil-producing countries or inflations, that is protect the national security. So that nothing is better than the natural resources and the renewable energy. So that is a starting point to make this movie. So that this is the clip note for the nuclear renewable energy. So there are the 39 talking points of the renewable energy, but you learn 39, but all these 39 points will be lost in 1 week. Therefore, just need to internalize these points. Please watch the movie and 3 times. If you watch 3 times, then I will give you the certificate that you become that expert of the renewable energy. So that is a passion, and this is a starting point, and that this movie is making a smash hit. And during that weekend, there are 3 or 5 spots that are running this movie, and I'm always invited as a director of this movie. Therefore, have no weekends. And as I said, after the March 11, so there is a road to Damascus. I mean, I decided to devote myself to the abolishment of the nuclear power. So this is a good busy. So I'm delighted to be invited as a director. And if you look at Japanese media alone, that the reopening of the Takahama or Sendai, so that the Oi nuclear power plant is about to reopen, it seems like the anti-nuclear camp is losing. But actually, no, our group is gaining ground. So there is the estimate of the total loss from the Fukushima disaster is going up. Immediately after the accident, the loss was 5.4 trillion yen, and a lot of the litigation starts, and decontamination work started, and the government announced that is a 10 trillion yen regarding that the loss from the Fukushima Daiichi. And last October, it says loss is estimated to reach 22 trillion, 5 trillion, 10 trillion, and 22 trillion. Oh, that is the humongous number. And that is the end of the story. But 1 month ago, the Nikkei newspaper think tank, the Nikkei Research Institute, the Nikkei newspaper is the newspaper for the economic animal.
You know what the newspaper said? They said the total losses from that Fukushima event is 70 trillion yen. Do you know what that is? 100 trillion yen is Japan's parliament budget. So one power station event, and this is one of the biggest superpower economic powerhouses. That's what Japan is, and it's very close to a 1 year's budget. And last year, taxes is like sales, corporate taxes, so on and so forth. All taxes amounted to how much tax were collected in Japan was 50 trillion yen in Japan. So basically 140% of one country's taxes were eaten up by one nuclear accident. So just by looking at that from an economic point of view, you can see how scary that is. Also, there was the Toshiba's event that casted a dark shadow on the economy. So Toshiba originally said it was the 70 million. So now they upward revised that upward, and they said it's 100 trillion. No, it's 100 billion yen, and they brought that on themselves. But anyways, the Fukushima's event, that was caused by Toshiba, because Toshiba created that station, and it is a very weak nuclear power station, and they left that alone and didn't do anything about it for 40 years, and that's why it happened. GE and Toshiba, and also TEPCO is bad too, but those are the companies that should be blamed for. And also in Fukushima, you know what else happened? All of the safety criteria for nuclear power stations around the world went up, got revised as a result of the event in Japan, and construction companies that build nuclear power plants, they had to bite the bullet. They had to, but normally when you have a nuclear power plant and additional construction have to be done, that costs have to be borne by the contractor and the manufacturer, and they have to eat that. So all of the money have to be borne by Westinghouse, and Westinghouse worked with Toshiba, and as right now, Toshiba is on the brink of going bankrupt. But anyways, these are all the things that are happening in the background. Anyways, it's not only Toshiba. Hitachi, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, they have been working on Iceland, France, everywhere. They've been in Finland too, I think. They're building power stations all over the world. And when they get orders to build additional construction on the power plant, then that money has to be borne by the manufacturer. That's the system everywhere you go in the world. So you have to, like anybody who's involved in nuclear power plant construction is really scared. And whenever one accident happens, just by one accident, you get 1 trillion yen in damages. So people say that, some people say that nuclear power plants, you can make a lot of money, but if you have one accident, can really make your company go bankrupt. That's the type of risk that you have, and the people in the business world are starting to notice that. So there's a lot of swirls that are happening in the economy right now, and people are now starting to realize more that about not being able to make that much money as people claim in the nuclear power plant industry. But now you had the Paris Convention that was signed at the COP, and people are going to slowly drift into that direction. And the reason people are going to start moving, because it's not because people have better ethics now. Natural energy is really cheap, and you can make money off of it. So for economic business reasons, people are going to start to drift into that direction. No matter what Trump says, people are going to drift in that direction of natural energy. So we're in this fight. We will definitely win to get out of this climate change issue. The solution is natural energy. People around the world are starting to notice more and more, and there's this big drift. And this is going to like get bigger and bigger, and people are going to understand the importance and the meaning of this. And there's a lot of people. It's impossible to think that Japan is continuing to work on something that's going to cost 30 trillion yen that has a big risk. There'll be countries more and more joining in on the movement to work on something that makes more economic sense. So I understand. I believe that our fight will win, and people who see this film will believe that as well. I believe. But thank you for listening to me. But that's all, and